Hello, it's Miss Michelle at Michelle Stone Masterpieces, and I'm coming to you today to talk to you about value, and we're going to be creating a value landscape. And so, value is when you take a specific color and you add more pigment to it, little by little by little. So let's get started. I'm going to switch my camera over, and so you can see what I've got here. Right here I have some watercolor paper, and we're actually going to be using colored pencils. So I have a white, I have a sky blue, a regular blue, and a black. So, and we will go from the top will be the lighter color all the way to the darkest color down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my sky blue pencil and add in just lightly, very lightly, I'm going to add in some mountains. I don't know if you can see that. So we've got, we'll see it in just a second. And then we've got this one. And then a little bit more. And just see how as I get just a little bit, as I continue to come down, I get a little bit darker, a little bit darker, a little bit darker. So here is, and then this one is going to be quite a bit darker. Okay, so there's the lighting. Sorry about the glare. Okay, so this one is right here. This is going to be, so this part is white. So I'm going to fill in all of that with white. And when I do, and you can move your paper however you want to where it best suits you. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to come in and literally fill all of this in with white. This is watercolor paper, and so it will be hard to see the white on the watercolor paper, but what you'll notice is that when it's all done, you'll actually be able to see the difference. So once we get around the curves, we can make big long strokes. So the longer the strokes when you're doing landscape, the better it is. Especially when you're doing like the sky. Yeah. See me doing that. I'm gonna add a board underneath this so it's a little bit easier for you to see. There we go. Okay. And so this is the lightest of the values. Okay. And so now that we have that, now we have, I'm going to take the sky blue and start really light. And remember, whenever you're using pencils, that it's the pressure of the pencil that you use is going to, that's the part that's going to make the difference. trying to get a good lighting here for you. Okay. Just very lightly, I'm coming in and filling this in. And it doesn't have to have too much detail at this point. And so I do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different lines for the variation. And so now here I'm going on to, so this was the first line. You can very faintly see it right there. And so now this is going to be the second line. And this is going to be a little bit darker. I'm going to apply more pressure. And again, I'm coming through to do the outlines. Once you do the outlines, it'll make it a lot easier to come in and add more color. And so we need the lines to be nice and smooth, so it all looks like one big just sheet of that same color. So see if we can. And there should be a definite line difference between this color and the other color. So as I talked about, this value is white, and then we move into the next darker value where we add just a little bit of pigment, and then this third one will be a little bit darker, almost as if we used paints, that we would be adding just maybe one drop of blue, or one drop of green, or one drop of whatever color we choose. And I'm going back over just to make sure that I have like all the little white spots. All the little white spots I want to make sure that are nice and filled in. So as we continue to go in, when we get to this part down here, this dark part all the way at the bottom, that's going to be full of color. Just absolutely, it'll have like blue and black in it. So and we won't see any white in there whatsoever. So that's why it's important to fill it all in. So yeah. Yeah, you can see that. Okay. And so now this next one, when I get to this next one, I'm going to apply a lot more pressure. And you may even actually grab your pencil sharpener and make sure that you have that accessible, because you're going to need to continue to keep your pencil sharpened. So mine is still good for right now. So I'm going to come over and now I'm going to make it quite a bit darker. I'm going to apply a lot more pressure. Yep, you can see that. And I can even bring it this way too if I want, because it's my picture. And I need to create it the best way that I possibly can. And if that means that I have to flip it around so I could really see what I'm doing, then that's what that means. And if you go into the other shade, that's okay. It's, yeah, sometimes that happens. And we're just going to, I'm just going to keep it going. I don't believe that there are any mistakes in art. I think there are just opportunities to learn how to do things. All right, so see how I have it? See how it's starting to get gradual? So you've got like here, if you were to think about the, like maybe even the mountains or whatever, and the sky is like that really, really light blue. So that would be here. And then the mountains that are further away are lighter. So that's what's happening here, is their value landscapes. We're going to come in and so with the values, we can use this in any color. It could be done in yellows. It could be done in, I'm going to sharpen my pencil while I talk for a minute. Could be done in yellow. It could be done in orange, blue, green. Last week we learned about monochromatic. And so we started off with the white and we worked with some gray, two different shades of gray, and then into the black. And so this is very similar to that. So this is the value of the different pigments and how we've got, when you have a color, it's the way that it changes is through value, is through giving, adding more pigment, making it darker, or having less pigment, making it lighter, that type of thing. So that's what we're doing now. So take your time and make your lines cross over. Try to make sure that there's no white. It's so that it's nice and smooth, and when you look at it, you can tell that you've filled in everything. Now I'm going to flip it around and go back this way. I'm right-handed, so it's one of those things where I try to make it work best for me. And even when you get it all the way done, like each section, just kind of go back through, and if you see any little white spots, like Like right now I see some white spots in here, and I see there, some over here. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil again. And just keep going with trying to fill in those spots. Because it is important that it is nice and even. Even when you get up to like those edges of the others. Kind of like when you're eating an English muffin and you want to make sure that the jelly or the peanut butter or even the butter covers all the little nooks and crannies. It's the same idea. You want to make sure that your crayon or your colored pencil fills in all of these little nooks and crannies. And because I'm using, as I mentioned earlier, I'm using watercolor paper. And so, there we go. All right. So now we have the white, and then we have the light blue, and then the next shade darker, and then this. And now we're going to move to, this is my regular blue, and I'm using Crayola colored pencils. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to bring in this, and again, going back through with my lines. And you're going to see a little bit of a difference here because they are two different colored pencils. And that's okay. That's okay. Because we're going from, this is what we have right now. If we only had one, I would get darker and darker and darker. And then by the end, this one down here would have some black in it. So what we're using this. These colored pencils right now. And so don't be scared to fill it all in. I'm trying to do like nice long strokes. I think, you know what, I think what I am going to do is I think I'm going to come over this with the light blue too, because the transition between these two is a little bit more than what I had anticipated. And so, and then I'll just kind of gently, there we go. Yeah, I can already start to see it. Having, like, blending these two together. You see how that's making a difference just in that one little area that I'm doing it? Yeah. There we go. Just needed that little bit of transition between the two. And now this one's going to be a little bit darker with just the regular blue. So there, okay. You see how that's starting to come together? So we've got the different, I'm going to come back in one more time on this one with this regular blue. Yep, and then just remember to kind of just try and stay in the lines that you built. If you can't, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. We're just exploring here right now, so. All right, and so then the next one, I'm going to come in a little bit darker with more pressure with my regular blue. See how I'm adding a lot more pressure here. And I'm actually holding my pencil like this instead of like this, because when we're coloring, when we're doing art with colored pencils, to keep it more controlled, it's hard to it's easy to write like this, but it's hard to keep it controlled and keep it even like this, because sometimes you apply more pressure and sometimes you don't. If you hold it like this, then if you hold the pencil like this, then it's easier to just have apply the same amount of pressure. And so then I'm coming here. And now I'm gonna actually sharpen this pencil too. Give me just a second. And so it's really good to keep your pencil sharpened often. The reason being is that it allows you to be a lot more precise and a lot more. And on top of that, see how much more lead I have here to use. If my pencil is not sharpened, I have less lead. So now here I'm applying as even pressure as I want. And remember, going back to the English muffin, try and make sure that you're filling in all of those little nooks and crannies. Now, if you're on a regular piece of paper, there's not going to be as many nooks and crannies. But if you're on the watercolor paper like what I'm using, you'll have, and you'll see it too. And I like to use watercolor paper because it's a lot more durable. If you're going back and forth on regular paper like this, like we are with this colored pencil right now, it has a tendency to wear down on the white paper, and then you don't get the effect that you want. one more sharpen. So keep going while I'm sharpening. I'm sure you're doing great. So see how in my, as I'm looking at it, this actually looks really choppy. Whoops. Hold on, I guess I need to sharpen it some more. And so when you do like the long lines, it helps it from looking so choppy. And so, and we want it to be like nice and smooth. There we go. So, and the thing about colored pencils, the thing about any kind of art is like layer after layer after layer. Once you build your like your main base layer, it's important to it adds depth to the painting. Like it, when I say it adds depth, I mean like it gives it more um you know what? All right, here's a great example. You know how sometimes when you eat macaroni and cheese, and sometimes there's lots of cheeses in it, and then sometimes there's like only one or two cheeses in it. When there's like one cheese in it, it tastes good and it's yummy, but it's not. If you have more cheeses in it, then it adds like additional flavors and it's even yummier. So it's the same kind of concept with this, is that if you add, the more layers you add, the yummier the painting is, if that makes sense. And the more depth and the more richness that the color is. So see how I'm coming back in, even though I know that it's already got color in it, I'm going back through and I'm filling in all the little nooks and crannies, because my next one is going to have blue and black in it. So I want to make sure that I have all the, I want to see how the transition has been. And so I want to make sure that that's nice and smooth. This particular, I'm going to get in here. For some reason, there's little lines in this water. I know that I just told you not to do this with your pencil, but sometimes there's little lines in your paper, and this helps. So, and it also helps delineate the difference between one mountain and the other. So as you're looking at this, you start to see the difference between how, like, when you apply pressure, that it gives you different shades. And that even here between these with the same pencil, right? It gives you different shades. So sometimes if you want to just trying to get in all the little nooks and crannies here. Sometimes if you want to just have different, like have it look like there's different colors and stuff in there, you can do it. You can just apply it, apply different pressures with your pencil, with your hand. So I'm going to come in here and add lots more. Spend a little bit more time in here. And if you're done, try and go back through and make sure that you're getting all the little nooks and crannies. All the little. The more you go over it, the more it'll fill in. So there we go. So if you are new to my channel, go ahead and check out my other videos. I have a whole series on mandalas that I did last year. I have a whole series on daily drawing prompts. All of my videos are kid friendly. I have some gallery. I'm the curator at the Carrollwood Cultural Center here in Tampa, Florida. So I quite often put art shows up there too. So I'll walk you all the way through the different art. So there's plenty of stuff. You can let your kid roam free on my site. There's even a couple of things that I sometimes I bring in other people that I talk to. I have a friend and I do interviews with, learning about different things. Okay, so there's that. Now this last part is going to be the darkest of the values. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil one more time. And starting this week, oops, my leg came out. Starting this week, I'm actually going to be doing weekly videos. So some of them will be for JMJ, the homeschooling program I'm part of right now. And some of them will be more of a therapeutic art, tapping into, emotions and things like that. So that's also really important. So you can look at those. I'll be posting those once a week. And all right, so now I'm coming in and I'm gonna, so let me go back. So if you subscribe and hit the little bell every time I do a video, you'll get notified. So I would love for you to do that. So see how I'm coming back in, and I am using this. I am holding my pencil light as if I were writing right now, so I can bring in get this nice line right here, all the way across. All right. So I'm going to go over, remember how here I did the light blue, the dark blue, and then I came back over and I did the light blue. I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm still with the, I still have the regular blue. I'm going to fill in this whole thing. Actually, I may even add a little bit more depth to where it's just all black right down here at the bottom. But let's look at that in a minute. So I'm going to come over and then I'm going to start filling it in. I'm actually going to go this way right now. I'm going to start, I'm going to fill it in. My lead. See what happens? So when you write with it, the lead starts to get pointed that way instead of on the side. So anyway, so now it's going to be a little bit weird. Okay, so I'm coming in and I'm going to fill in just like I did this other one. But I'm going to make nice big long strokes. It's a lot easier when you don't have to go around these little spaces, but that's okay. And we'll come back in and fill in the little nooks and crannies in a minute. So take your time with this, be patient. This is all a process. It does take time to learn how to do this, to learn how to hold the pencil correctly, to where, and also the other thing I didn't mention is that I'm keeping my wrist straight and I'm moving my elbow, I'm moving from my elbow and my shoulder like this. So see how I keep my wrist straight, but I go back and forth with my elbow? That's how I'm doing it. So now I've got the blue in, and I'm going to come in a little bit with my black. I'm going to go over that. And I may actually go back and forth with it, depending. All right, now I'm going to come back over with my blue. I'm going to take your time and get all the different spots. Yeah, I think I am going to come in and do like a little right here. A little just like a straight black. That way we fill it all in. And then we have the value all the way from the black or the white at the top all the way to the darkest. I mean, as much as we can. So I am going to come back in and fill in with, use my pencil this way. And if you go off the paper, that's perfectly fine. And so the reason I'm going this way back and forth is that it's nice and consistent. If you decide to go this way on your paper, it will actually show and it will make a difference. So I do not recommend doing that. It's just a lot, it's a lot cleaner. It helps with the flow of the painting if we keep them all the, oh, my lid keeps breaking. Sorry about that. So I'm going to sharpen a little bit more. But yeah, it's important to kind of stay with the same strokes. So for that particular piece, it's horizontal strokes. Now, if we wanted to do something that had a different stroke, it would give it a different feel. So as long as we're staying back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And if we want to follow the curves of the mountains, that's fine. But as far as going a different direction, if you're like going up and down, that's not what we want to do at this point. So I'm going to come in and like really apply some pressure here. And see how already it's a different color than that. And you know why? Because I have two colors there. I have the black as well as the brown, or not the brown, but the blue. So see how there's that little bit of a difference, you can totally tell. Yeah. And again, always remember to keep your pencil nice and sharpened. That'll help you get in those little nooks and crannies. And it's also really good when you're doing font too. Font is like when you type things out, or it's like the way that the letters are when people make signs and stuff. So that's those letters are actually called font. F-O-N-T. So see how I'm coming down in through, and I'm getting it really good. And so now I'm applying more pressure. I'm applying a lot more pressure. And here at the edges, it's a little bit harder because you're going off. But just try and stay with it, and just kind of go back and forth like this. And as you're going through and you're filling it all in, you can rotate your pencil around too. That will help you. See how just adding that little bit of black in there is making a difference. I know this artist who does colored pencil, and you don't see any white whatsoever. And it's really, really incredible stuff. When she first started doing it, she immediately started winning awards. And now she's traveling all over the country. Even in the middle of everything. I think I am gonna do that. So then this will be just strictly black. and see how I already have like a layer of black there and a layer of blue. So I'm actually going to add, I'll come in and I'll add more blue in there too, but it'll be more black than it will be anything. And the key is to try and be nice and even all the way across. Oops, gotta sharpen again. All right, almost done. So just try and keep, if you see any little white spots in there, just go ahead and try and fill them all in to the best of your ability. And just keep going and going over it. It'll be fine. I know your hand's probably getting tired at this point. Just try and stick with it. Anything worth doing is worth doing well. So gotta go all the way in. Kind of see where all those little, if there's any white spots in there, make sure that you get them. Let's see, yep. And like I said, you know, if you're using watercolor paper like I am, there's lots of little, because watercolor paper is so, you know, so it absorbs the watercolor. And so there's lots of texture in this paper. And so with there being all of that texture, you know, there's space for our colored pencils to get in there. There we go. All right. I'm just going to get this little spot right here. Okay. All right, So you see that? All right, so now I'm going to come in and I'm going to apply the hardest pressure I can here in this little spot, and then I'm going to come over it again with black. So watch this. So I'm going to like really, see that's even darker yet. So I am really pressing down at this point. You see how much darker that is? The same pencil. I've not changed pencils, but I'm pressing down a lot harder. I mean, like really pressing down a lot harder, see? And you know what, let me there. I sharpened my pencil again. Whoops! Oh my goodness. So yeah, so keep coloring. We are almost done. You're doing great. We just need to get it all completed. And here I am. There should be no white spots in here whatsoever. Remember how I mentioned that earlier? No white spots. This is going to be completely dark. Yeah, you can see the difference. And I'm very deliberately going in and putting it there. Trying to make sure that there's no white in here whatsoever. I don't want to see any white. To the best of my ability. And just at the same time, keep going back and forth over the same spot very evenly. Because even when you're applying this much pressure, even if if you do it just a little bit different, and see like right here how my edge is really white, so I'm just gonna go off, just go out away from the paper so that, whoops, and I even folded it accidentally. There, you see that? Even just this little bar. See how the difference just this little bit of white over here versus this side over here makes? Yeah. And again, you can flip it around and even go this way. But whatever you do, don't go this way, okay? That will make a difference in the look. See? I have the whole edge. All right. So we are, as long as you're all the way done, and in this last bit, you don't see any white, and it's all nice and smooth. I know it took a while, but we followed all the way through. I'm sure you'll see the difference. So here is your value landscape. So we go from the lightest of the light to the darkest of the dark. So I hope you liked it. I hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe below. Press that bell button, and I will see you next time. All right. Thank you so much. Bye.